This side is finally done, the driver's side, with the exception of the axle nut. I need to get another one of those and torque it down. I think it's like 136 foot-pounds or something like that. I just put the impact on it until it doesn't turn anymore. I have learned a lot from this side, and the next side will be just hopefully easy, no issues. That's my hopes. What I learned was that these bushings here from Energy Suspension 16.7102, and the bushings are stamped 7095. These are not front strut bushings in the Honda terminology. I thought these were going to go underneath here because I saw I had extra parts, and I was really upset because I thought I was going to take not only this one apart but also the two rear ones. But it says front only, and it says in the checklist that you're supposed to have these part numbers facing one another, so you would use two per side in the front, and that just wasn't going to work, so there's no way it belonged here. So I called up Energy Suspension, spoke to a gentleman, and he ended up informing me that it goes to, I forget what this is called, either the radius or the radial arm, and that's exactly where they go. And I have since installed them, one up front and one behind, and you have to clean everything off and put silicone grease on it. The sway bar bushings are in, end link, whatever they call it, and I can tell you, when you do this side, you take everything apart, this is the first thing you want to do, and then the next thing you want to do is the lower control arm, and then attach this to the lower control arm, and it's 80 foot-pounds of torque on these two nuts that attach the radius, I gotta find out what that thing's called, to the lower control arm, and you don't have access to get to it unless you take this CV axle out. So that's definitely going to be the first step on the other side. You can see I ended up taking out the old bushings from the old control arm, upper control arm, and swapped them out so that I could keep the new bushings. We torqued everything down up there. I'm pretty sure that the only thing I didn't torque down was the top. You can see Energy Suspension bushings here. I need to torque this down, but I'm fairly certain you only do that when the car is under a load, sitting on itself, which I haven't done yet. These, you also want to mark the coil spring and the top hat to make sure that those go back in the same place, because if not, it ends up being twisted. I had to compress this, twist it, and get it on the lower control arm. A lot of these nuts you're supposed to get new ones too, like this one you're supposed to, and this one down here on the fork of the dampener, because they all have nylon threads, self-locking nuts at the end. New stainless steel brake line, new clip, 10 foot-pounds of torque here. I don't know what this one is, but I torqued it down to probably 15 to 20. Torque these all back down. I think the bleeder screw is only 6 foot-pounds. I haven't messed with that yet. All new wheel studs, because I messed one up that actually ended up working out to my advantage, because I figured out how to disassemble this whole thing, because I was forced to. Tighten these down. Ended up putting this little extra piece here that just felt like that'd be the best place based upon what the old one looked like. So that's the old one, and it's routed all around where it should be. This dampener is all the way up. There's a little notch in the back. The upper ball joints on this is the same part number for the tie rod. So you're going to have 4 of those, and then you're going to have, you can see that one's done, and that one, and then that's the ball joint. And the ball joint, that's a new ball joint and a new energy suspension cover. Not a real big fan of those. That one seems to work okay. This one does not. It's open in the back and grease is coming out of the back. So I'm not really a big fan of those. And there's not a grease fitting in the top, so you can add more grease. Whereas this ball joint does have a grease fitting, but good luck getting to it if you need to. You're going to have to take the CV axle in order to do that. So I have not put the tie rod boot on yet because I'm going to rebuild the rack, and I may get a quick ratio if I can't figure out another way, or I'll just keep this the way it is. So that is probably it for today. I wasn't quite done after all. This is a front radius rod, is what the terminology is, and Honda has it listed as a front strut, part number 16.7102. And to get these loose, I think it was a 19 millimeter, actually I think it was a 17, and this is also supposed to be those nuts that get replaced. I had to unbolt the radiator piece that went here, and then the piece that went here. So these two are connected over here, and those are the pieces up there. This was right side, this was left side. And that allowed me to lift the radiator up just enough to be able to get a ratchet, or actually a deep well on there, and a ratchet, and then it went to, I think, a short well, or shallow well, thin well, I forget what the hell those are, just regular sockets. And I even used a ratchet too when I could. So that's what it took for me to get those out, because of the angle and because of how deep the bolt is, or the threaded portion of the radius rod. So again, you're going to want to remove this first and put it on first, as far as when you disassemble everything on the other side.